This is the follow-up video to the one I did on Lure Flash just a couple of weeks ago. And in this video, we're going to look at different blades and what type of flash that they have at different depths. For this version, I wanted to experiment with how far down in the water the sun's rays would maintain enough direct light before it became too diffused through the water to reflect back to us. I went out at noon on a bluebird day to get the maximum amount of overhead sunlight. The blades are silver and gold, both smooth and hammered versions, plus a white painted blade, as well as a chartreuse version. And I also have some blades and propellers that attach and provide a perpendicular orientation instead of the parallel orientation spinnerbait blades have. These were given to me from Top Strike, so thank you. I started off in slightly stained water. This is a bay that was stirred up from recent rainfall and has cleared some, but still cloudier than the main lake. The first clip here is at 1 foot in depth. All the blades parallel or in line to the motor shaft are showing a lot of flash. From the side view, we can see that only the blades and propellers that are forward facing are flashing, which makes sense. When I back off to a distance of about 15 feet, the flash disappears to our vision. And then when I start to come in a little closer, it is interesting how the flash from this distance is more pinpoint bursts of light as opposed to larger and wider flashes. When I drop the test rig to a depth of 5 feet in stained water, the flashes disappear a little sooner when I back off. I also find it interesting that, at least to my eye, there does not seem to be that much difference between the hammered blades and the smooth blades as far as random or dancing light. They look very similar in how the light reacts off of them at a distance. And the side view at 5 feet down shows the perpendicular blades, of course, are the ones causing the reflection from what would be the front of the lure if it was coming towards us. Now to ultra clear water. At a depth of 1 foot and close up, there is of course a lot of flash. And then when I back off, we can see the blades flashing a little farther than in the slightly stained water. I was able to get out to a distance of about 20 feet. As we drop the test rig to a depth of 5 feet in clear water, the blades are essentially behaving the same. But let's go deeper. The rig is now sitting in 15 feet of clear water with the sun directly overhead. When the camera is close, there is clearly still visible flash, both from the front view for the parallel blades and the side view of the perpendicular blades. As we back off, I can still get a decent distance from the rig, but the flash intensity starts to drop off noticeably. The rays of light are starting to get a lot more diffused at this depth. Now let's see what happens at 20 feet. Even up close at this depth, the light diffusion is very obvious. We can still see a very small amount of flash, but the intensity has dropped down considerably. And then as I back off, we can see the amount of reflected light doesn't travel as far, whereas near the surface, I could get about 20 feet out. So what are some takeaways from this? How can it help us, or does it even matter? Well, the first thing that stood out to me was there was not nearly as much difference between smooth blades and hammered blades as I thought there would be, like I mentioned earlier. On extremely bright and sunny days, I think that the flashing blades have the potential to call fish from a greater distance than I first thought, and you can definitely see how those random pops of light could draw in fish and activate that curiosity that bass are so well known for. It also shows us how potentially powerful those A-rigs can be with all of those blades for drawing fish from a distance. Now, if you're an angler that thinks that on super bright days that too much flash may be a deterrent, I'm telling you, those painted blades still could be seen well even farther out and didn't have the intensity of the gold and silver blades. And I know that traditionally we think about painted blades for cloudier days and dirtier water, but after watching this, they may be a good option on bright days as well. It would be interesting to try both on a bright day and see what happens. And of course, we can't forget that the water displacement or push that the blades have also can be sensed by the fish, especially at closer distances. Well, at another time, I will do the same test in water that has more color to it and also on cloudy days. And hey, if you want to watch a video that talks about what worm weights on Texas rigs are really doing in wood, go ahead and check this one out right here. And make sure that you go out and encourage someone today. You never know how you might just change their life. For the Bass Fishing Life, I'm your host, Steve Rogers.